Hey everyone. Tonight we're drifting back a little further than usual. Past the candlelit castles, past the plagues, past the faint smell of onions and damp wool. We're going somewhere medieval. So, get comfortable, dim your lights, loosen your grip on the present century, and prepare yourself for a slow descent into a world where everyone was slightly sticky, deeply religious, and suspicious of mirrors. Tonight's story isn't quite a story. It's more of a guide. A handbook, if you will, for anyone who's ever wondered what it would actually be like to wake up one morning in the 14th century and realize, with growing concern, that your phone doesn't exist and you've been mistaken for a peasant. So, take a breath, and let's begin. You arrive in medieval Europe, let's say somewhere around 1350. It's dawn. There's a thin fog hanging over a field, and somewhere nearby a rooster is screaming his little heart out because that's just what they do. The first thing you notice is the smell. It's not bad exactly. It's just honest. A mixture of wet earth with smoke, old hay, and people who've never encountered the concept of deodorant. In most villages, clean is a relative term. Bathing happens occasionally, with enthusiasm, and then not again until the next saint's day. If you're lucky, you might stumble upon a public bathhouse, but be warned, it's less spa day and more slightly warm people's soup. Naturally, everyone claims to hate sin, but the bathhouse is where gossip, flirtation, and light disease all mingle happily together. So, you might want to keep your medieval spa visit brief. If you need to breathe, step outside, but don't take too deep a breath near the streets. Those glistening puddles, not water. Let's just say medieval sanitation was aspirational. Next, you'll need to communicate. And here's where things get complicated. Even if you're in England, the locals are speaking something that sounds vaguely familiar and yet entirely alien. Middle English is full of rolling RS and throat noises that make you sound like you're gargling gravel. If you wander into France or the Holy Roman Empire, things don't improve. You'll find dozens of dialects, each of them convinced that everyone else is speaking incorrectly. Latin is the universal language, but unless you're a monk or an overachiever from Oxford, you're probably out of luck. The best strategy is to smile, nod, and avoid talking too much. Silence, in the Middle Ages, is often mistaken for wisdom. If you do manage to say something, keep it simple. Avoid words like science, future, or democracy. They'll just get you in trouble. You might also want to avoid casually mentioning that the Earth goes around the sun. That's not going to win you any friends here. Eventually, you'll start noticing the people around you. They're shorter, for one thing. Not tiny, but small in a sturdy, practical sort of way. Most adults are missing at least one tooth, and quite a few have a mild limp or an impressive scar. Everyone is a little sunburned, a little muddy, and deeply suspicious of new faces. If you smile too much, they'll think you're a fool. If you don't smile at all, they'll assume you're possessed. The safest expression is a polite, vaguely pained squint, like you're trying to remember if you left the door open. By midday, you'll probably be hungry, and that's when you'll meet your first medieval meal. Breakfast, if it exists, is usually a chunk of stale bread and maybe a sip of ale. Yes, ale, because water is, frankly, a gamble. Everyone drinks beer, not to get drunk, but because it's the only liquid that won't try to kill you. If you're a peasant, lunch is likely a thin soup called pottage. It's made of whatever is lying around: cabbage, barley, and sometimes, on lucky days, a hint of something that used to be meat. If you're nobility, things get more exciting. There's roasted swan, or a pie that might contain an entire bird inside another bird, just to show that you can. Of course, everything tastes faintly of smoke and salt, but at least it's warm. That's a luxury in itself. After lunch, life slows down. You might think people in the Middle Ages were always toiling, but the truth is they were experts at doing very little with great conviction. Most peasants worked hard only when they absolutely had to, and spent the rest of the time sitting, talking, or napping, usually in that order. Life was exhausting, and naps were practically a survival skill. If you wander through a village in the afternoon, you'll see chickens underfoot, children playing with mud that used to be dinner, and someone mending a roof with a look of quiet despair. There's always one old man sitting near a fire, telling stories about when the weather used to be better. Every village is one. Sooner or later, you'll have to figure out where to sleep. If you're a guest of the local lord, congratulations. Your bed will probably be made of feathers, with sheets that smell faintly of lavender and candle grease. If you're anyone else, you're sharing a straw mattress with 2 other people and a family of mice. Privacy isn't really a thing yet. Most houses are single rooms, and everyone sleeps together for warmth. That includes parents, children, and sometimes the livestock. It's less awkward than it sounds, mostly because everyone is too tired to care. Before bed, you might hear church bells in the distance. They mark the hours of prayer, which occur several times a day and night. Even if you're not religious, it's best to pretend. Faith isn't optional here. It's the operating system of the age. The church runs everything: education, morality, holidays, and most of the gossip. If you sneeze, it's the church that decides whether you're blessed or cursed. And if you're caught doing anything suspicious, like reading too much or having an opinion, you'll find yourself having a very awkward conversation with a priest. Still, religion is also comfort. Life is short, brutal, and confusing, and the promise of heaven keeps people more or less sane. Every village has a saint it claims as its protector. Most of them specialize in oddly specific miracles. Saint Fiacre for hemorrhoids, Saint Bibiana for hangovers, Saint Drogo for unattractive people. There's a saint for everyone, really. As night falls, the world goes completely dark. There's no city glow, no hum of traffic, just the sound of wind, maybe a distant wolf, and the creaking of your very flammable wooden home. Candles are precious, so most people go to bed early, not out of discipline, but because the alternative is sitting in the dark listening to rats. You lie back on your straw bed. The air smells faintly of smoke and humanity. Someone nearby is snoring in a tone that suggests mild possession. And you realize something. The Middle Ages aren't quite what you imagined. They're quieter, smaller, more human. Not a world of knights and dragons, but of farmers, gossip, and endlessly inventive ways to stay warm. Tomorrow, if you're still here, you'll have to learn the rules of survival. Who to bow to, who not to talk to, and how to avoid being accused of witchcraft before breakfast. But for now, rest. The medieval world moves slowly. You'll have plenty of time to make mistakes tomorrow,